The human diplomat Ethan Calder adjusted the collar of his formal uniform as he stepped onto the bridge of the Varkos Prime, the flagship of the alien Draethari fleet. Towering, sleek, and pulsing with a faint silver glow, the warship was unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Its crew tall and elegant, with obsidian black skin adorned with faint bioluminescent markings, watched him with a mix of curiosity and distrust. Their glowing violet eyes followed his every movement, making Ethan acutely aware that he was an outsider here. At the center of the bridge stood Commander Zyra Velkor, as imposing as she was mesmerizing. Her silver-plated armor gleamed under the dim lighting, emphasizing the strong, fluid lines of her form. Her long, jet-black hair was braided with strands of metallic fiber, reflecting the authority she commanded. She turned to face him, her sharp features impassive, but her gaze unreadable. Ethan swallowed hard. He had been through high-stakes negotiations before, but there was something about Zyra's presence that made him feel like he was standing on trial. "Human," Zyra finally spoke, her voice low and commanding. "Do you understand the gravity of your presence here? This alliance stands at the brink of failure. Your species' survival depends on proving to me that you are worth the risk." Ethan straightened his posture, pushing down his nerves. "Commander Velkor," he began, forcing confidence into his voice. "Humanity is ready to prove its value. We may not possess your advanced technology, but we bring adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience to this alliance." A murmur spread among the Draethari crew. Zyra raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Words mean little to me, human. I require actions, not empty promises." She stepped closer, towering over him. "You have one chance to convince me. Speak wisely." Ethan's mind raced. He had studied Draethari customs for weeks, yet none of his research had prepared him for this moment. He could feel Zyra testing him, and if he failed, the alliance would crumble. A flicker of an idea crossed his mind, risky, but it might just work. Before he could talk himself out of it, he stepped forward, closing the space between them. The Draethari crew collectively stiffened, some instinctively reaching for their weapons. Before anyone could react, Ethan lifted a hand in a peaceful gesture and leaned in, pressing a brief, respectful kiss to Zyra's cheek. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Zyra stood frozen, her entire body rigid as if struck by lightning. Her violet eyes widened, and for the first time, Ethan saw something unexpected, pure, unfiltered shock. The silence dragged on, the tension thick enough to cut with a blade. Ethan took a step back, trying to gauge her reaction. "It's a gesture of trust," he explained, keeping his voice calm despite his racing heart. "In human culture, a kiss signifies goodwill and mutual respect." Zyra's lips parted slightly, but no words came. Her crew, however, erupted into a flurry of whispers, their voices filled with confusion and alarm. Ethan frowned. "Did I misread?" "You fool," Zyra interrupted, her voice an icy hiss. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" Ethan blinked. "No?" "In Draethari culture," she said, her voice trembling with barely contained fury, "a kiss is not a symbol of trust. It is a declaration of a life bond." Ethan's heart stopped. "Wait, what?" Zyra turned on her heel and stormed out of the room, her armor glinting as her cape fluttered behind her. The Draethari crew stared at Ethan in stunned disbelief. Some looked horrified, others almost amused. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Well," he muttered, mostly to himself, "that could have gone better." Hours later, Ethan sat in his quarters aboard Varkos Prime, replaying the disastrous scene in his mind. His goal had been to ease tensions between humanity and the Draethari. Instead, he had somehow accidentally declared a lifelong partnership with the most powerful military commander in their fleet. The door to his room hissed open abruptly, and in strode Zyra Velkor, her glowing eyes blazing with fury. Ethan barely had time to get to his feet before she was in front of him, arms crossed and posture rigid with controlled anger. "You will explain yourself," she demanded. "Did you act out of ignorance, or was this a deliberate attempt to humiliate me before my crew?" Ethan raised his hands in defense. "Ignorance. Definitely ignorance. I had no idea a kiss meant." He paused. "That." Zyra's expression didn't soften. "A life bond, human," she said slowly, as if explaining to a child. "It signifies an unbreakable partnership that transcends duty, life, and even death." Ethan groaned. Okay, but there's gotta be some kind of reversal process, right? A way to undo it. Zyra's eyes narrowed. A life bond is absolute. Severing it would bring dishonor to both of us. Worse, it would weaken my people's trust in yours. The alliance would be jeopardized. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. So what? We're just stuck with this. Zyra let out a heavy sigh. Congratulations, human. You are now my greatest burden. The next morning, Ethan woke to alarms blaring through the ship. He barely had time to throw on his uniform before Keller Var, Zyra's second-in-command, burst into his quarters. Human, you're needed on the command deck. Now. Ethan barely had time to protest before he was dragged through the ship's corridors. When they arrived, Zyra was already at the center, her hands gripping the command console as a red warning light pulsed overhead. What's going on? Ethan asked. Zyra didn't turn to him. Sabotage. Someone has compromised our navigation systems. We're locked on a course toward Zarek Dominion territory. If we don't regain control, we'll be torn apart by their warships. Ethan felt a pit form in his stomach. The Zarek were not known for their mercy. Can't you override the system? He asked. Zyra's jaw clenched. Whoever did this knew our technology. The only way to fix it is manual intervention, and we have little time. Ethan hesitated, then took a deep breath. Let me help. I know a thing or two about system security. Zyra shot him a skeptical glance, but nodded. Then prove yourself. The next hour was a frantic blur. Ethan worked alongside the Druthri engineers, his fingers flying over alien control panels as he searched for the breach. Finally, he found it a hidden relay redirecting the ship's course. There, he shouted. I can shut it down, but I need authorization. Zyra wasted no time. She entered the necessary commands, her expression tight with focus. As the system reset, the warning lights faded. The Varkos Prime was back under their control. Relief flooded the command deck, but before Ethan could celebrate, the proximity alarm blared. A Zarek battleship loomed ahead. The screen crackled, and the face of a Zarek commander appeared scaled, reptilian features twisting into a cruel grin. Drathery, he sneered. Trespassing in our space, and with a human on board. This is an insult. Zyra stepped forward, her tone unwavering. We meant no offense. Our ship was sabotaged. The Zarek commander scoffed. Your excuses mean nothing. Prepare to be. Ethan cut in. Wait. I was the one who fixed the sabotage. If we were here to attack you, would I have stopped us from crashing into your fleet? The Zarek commander narrowed his eyes, considering. Silence stretched. Then, very well, but this is your only warning. Leave now, or be destroyed. The transmission ended, and the tension on the bridge finally broke. Zyra turned to Ethan. For the first time, there was something besides irritation in her eyes, something almost impressed. You took a risk, she said, and it paid off. Ethan exhaled. Yeah, well, I figured if I'm bound to you for life, I should at least make myself useful. Zyra smirked, just slightly. Perhaps, but don't think this means I'll go easy on you. Ethan chuckled. Wouldn't have it any other way. And as the Varkos Prime sailed safely beyond the Zarek borders, Ethan realized that his accidental life bond might just be the greatest challenge and adventure of his life.